This is Adam Watson.
And Robert Diaz.
You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. As we move closer to 2018, I'm taking a look at a lot of different forms of crowdfunding I can do to help move my business along. I never really considered GoFundMe for any type of crowdfunding for my business because it always seemed like something that you used mainly if you need to pay a hospital bill or housing costs or...
Yeah, just something for nothing.
Something like that.
Charity to help you get along.
Right. But earlier this week, I saw one of my friends using it to do crowdfunding for his comic that he needed to pay a page rate to the artist. It was basically too new to use Kickstarter to do this. Mm-hmm. So it got me to thinking maybe there is ways to use GoFundMe in ways that would make sense to do crowdfunding for business. I got thinking about that and thought, I could use it like Patreon in a way because, with GoFundMe, there's no end date, kind of like Patreon.
Yeah,
once you start it, you can end it at any point.
Either.
You can do incentive based on
that. You can. I know nothing about it. I just thought it's more of a charitable contribution to me.
No, it can be a charitable contribution, but you can offer incentives for things people do on there, just like Kickstarter.
So it's mainly
I think it mainly just gets used that way because they allow for people to use it that way. So it's.
And I don't know if any other place really does that. I suppose that
Indiegogo did. I think they still do.
I actually don't know if other things do that. I just assume like Kickstarter.
I really and truly only know anything about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon, and GoFundMe. Those are like the only four I really know anything about.
Whatever.
Yeah, I've heard of what is it? I think Honeymooners Fund or something like that.
Never heard of that.
Ben Kreger did one of those when he was getting married. It's basically like a wedding registry that people give you cash as a gift on.
Oh, I thought, well, don't people do that usually just at the wedding? I've seen at weddings like a money tree, as they call it.
That kind of thing. But, it's basically like a digital money tree. But all the same, I don't know anything about that one either. So these are the four that I know something about that you actually hear stuff about. But I was thinking I could use it as like Patreon in a way. So with Patreon, at some point, I'm going to institute a Patreon. Patreon or Patreon?
It's the second time we went over this.
I know.
I don't know.
I think it's the third time we went over it.
I just hear it as Patreon.
Patreon. There we go.
That's the way that I say it.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing Patreon at some point for the Bovine Muerte. And I'll be doing one for this podcast. Actually, the whole family of podcasts that I'm doing right now. Speaking of which, hopefully this week, but possibly next week, I'll finally be launching the Kids Review Comics podcast. That one is going to be occasionally updated. We'll touch on that more here in a minute. Yeah. But I've been thinking about
kids are unreliable.
They are.
Wildly. And there's so many laws about, you can't put into words.
So, I'm thinking about at least in 2018 launching a GoFundMe to keep funding up, just going consistently to try to launch a Darkslinger Apparel line.
What sort of apparel do you have in mind?
Well, I've had in mind forever to do a patch and actually have a design made up for a patch. The symbol that's on the Darkslinger Mafia podcast page was actually made as a patch. It wasn't made to be a podcast image. It just ended up working well as a podcast image.
Who made that?
Dan DePaulo is who drew that. T-shirts are something pretty much everybody does, right? I've wanted to do other kinds of apparel forever. Like, if you've ever seen me at conventions, you probably know what I wear most of the time are Dickies work shirts. And I would absolutely love to have a line, Dickies work shirts that have high quality printing on them of Darkslinger images and actually be able to put unique Darkslinger images on them. So things that are actually made to be apparel, not things that are made to be comics and then are put onto apparel.
Buy me one of those.
Well, you could buy one of those through the GoFundMe if I actually set it up.
No, you can buy me one.
Well, I could because you do go to conventions with me all the time.
Now, do you mean like a big picture on it? Or just like a small little thing? Because I like your idea of like a patch and a name. Because do you mean like a button down?
Well, for the Dickies workshop in specific, yes. But there's a lot of different ideas I have for apparel. That's just one of them.
Well, my personal preference on those kinds of things, I like a small little thing on the chest. That's more my style. I'm not too big in having a giant picture on my shirt. So if you put like
Right.
where a pocket would be, you put something that size, like a patch
Mm-hmm.
of a name and a logo. You can maybe even put one on the other side or on the sleeve. I'd like that. I like that.
Well, there's not a reason that you couldn't do multiple things like that.
No, you can do it all.
If you have a printer set up to work with you and you have the funding to go forward with it, because that's one of the things that keeps me back from launching any sort of apparel lines, is whenever I have the money together, you know, this could go into a patch, or I could put it into the production cost in the next comic.
So please fund us.
Please fund us. That could be a good name for a new crowdfunding site, actually.
Copyright Adam and Robert, 2017.
Not to be used or reproduced without our express written permission.
Yeah, you sons of bitches.
Unless it already exists. Who knows? That might already be one.
Yeah, very well could.
So
in
anyway,
other words, we're very sorry.
Yeah, we're very sorry if it is. That's something I've been thinking about for the past couple of days.
I like that idea of apparel. You know, if you give me a shirt at a con and it's a nice shirt, I'll wear it.
Yeah, and patches. There's several different things. Patches are actually pretty low cost to make. The biggest cost associated with them generally is in the artwork. Because, you know, you can have patches made for less than 75 cents a piece. And those are actually pretty high profit items because you can sell them for like $5 a piece pretty easy at a convention.
Yeah, I got a patch and I think it was probably like $5.
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't buy it.
Fair enough.
It was a gift.
Yeah. But in any case, that's something I've been thinking about using crowdfunding for over the last week. And I think GoFundMe may make the most sense for that because that's not something you would use with Patreon since it's a recurring product line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you'd use Kickstarter for because Kickstarter would be more for the individual item. If I were just wanting to make one and it was really specific, Kickstarter would make a lot of sense for that. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for this. And Indiegogo, much like Kickstarter, has a definitive end date. So with this, you know, I can set up the goal as first being like the sew-on patch, which would only be like a couple $100 goal or whatever. And then the next thing could be the Chronicles of Von Helsing Dickie's work shirt. And the next thing could be a t-shirt featuring this character. So on and so forth, you know.
So then you're not, like, with a Kickstarter, you're not trying to shove everything into a month. You know, you just want to make this first little goal right here.
Right.
And then, oh, hey, let's try to, this is how it turned out. Let's try to make it to the next.
Right, exactly. And if something is just failing to fund, then it might tell you that the market doesn't want that item.
Yeah.
So it's good market research at the same time.
No skin off your back if it fails, really.
Exactly. So yeah, anyway, that's something I've been thinking about. So you think that's a pretty good idea?
Yeah, I think it'd be neat if you can get some shirts out of it.
Yeah. Shirts, patches. The patches can go on beanies. So I can be selling beanies, offering beanies as well.
Beanies are cheap too.
Right. Eventually move up to hoodies. Things of that nature.
Good ideas.
Hoodies would probably be a little ways down the line, though, as they're going to be a lot more costly to produce.
A bit more expensive.
Yeah. So anyway, on the topic of the other podcasts, I'm finally going to be launching the Kids Review Comics podcast. The reason I haven't done it until now is because it takes a lot of time just to edit this one. It's not time I have most of the time. But I got a little bit of time over Thanksgiving weekend, so I sat down and did some editing. So I'm pretty positive I can launch that on Friday. That is going to be occasionally updated because, well, like you said, you can't get kids to do stuff all the time.
No.
It's kind of whenever they feel like sitting down and recording it, honestly.
You never know what they might say.
No, you never know what they might say. And my other podcast, The Comic Collaborative, is going to be returning soon as an occasionally updated podcast as well. Doing that as a week-to-week format podcast like this one just has not been working out. Ben and I cannot find the time to record together. When we find time to record together, it seems like neither of us can find time to actually edit the thing. So we have interviews that we did at the Rose City Comic Con that are going to be posted very soon. Just have to do a little bit more editing on those. And then after that, it's going to be an occasional podcast, so updated once a month. Some months, maybe not at all, but it'll basically be a companion to this podcast. So this one will remain a weekly updated podcast, and the other two are going to be occasionals.
I got to deal with that on some of the podcasts that I listen to.
Yeah, and I think if I bring them all underneath one umbrella being a family podcast, it'll make it a little bit more tolerable to wait for one.
Listen to this while you wait.
Yeah, that's basically what they do on Kevin Smith's family podcast.
I know. I've been waiting for a new Smodcast for a while.
Yeah.
But Scott Mosier's making a movie in Europe or something like that.
Yeah, and Kevin Smith is doing something for Todd McFarlane. Can't remember what it is.
And he does like 12 other podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
For a fat guy, he does a lot.
Yeah, well, he's not that fat anymore, is he?
I don't know. He goes back and forth.
Well, that's fair.
Still a cool guy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You can hang out with him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So
you might make him cry, though.
I might. It's a good possibility. I'd just keep telling him stories until he cried, honestly. I'd be disappointed if he didn't cry to story.
Wouldn't be that hard.
No, probably not. So, yeah, what'd you do over Thanksgiving weekend? Anything productive?
What the hell did I do? Like over the whole weekend?
Yeah.
Well, I only managed to work 2 days.
Okay.
And I didn't really do a whole lot. I ate food. That was it. Hung out with my family for as long as I could manage.
Mm-hmm.
And then promptly left and sat at my own place and did nothing.
Oh, okay.
Because I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Didn't really do anything, man. That's it. All I want to do is just sit around and eat food. I wanted to watch hockey, but I got confused because they were marketing it, the Bruins Penguins game, as being a Thanksgiving showdown, and it was actually on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I was like, oh, what the hell? You got me all excited, and I'm not even going to get to watch hockey today? So I was a little salty about that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I got 2 Christmas-themed projects going.
2?
2.
You know, it's not time for Christmas. It was Thanksgiving.
Yes,
right?
but the Christmas postcard needed to happen. This is actually something I should have had done months ago.
I guess when you do work and you have to plan for it, it's okay. Other than that,
yeah.
Screw things.
And every year, except for 1, possibly 2, I've done a Christmas postcard that I send out with orders, give away to shops that support us, things like that. Normally, I have these done by the end of July. This year, my artist is working on it right now.
Who's the artist doing it?
The artist doing it is Marco Roblin, who's the artist for Diary of a Dead Man. He's done a few Principalities covers, a Ghost Assassin image. You know his artwork.
Mm-hmm. The bit that I've seen of Diary of a Dead Man, those posters, that's him?
Yes, that's him.
Those look really good.
Yeah, he's an amazing talent.
Does he do the color on them too?
He does.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I think that's what really makes those posters pop.
Mm-hmm.
Is the color that he does. Dude's talented.
Oh, yeah, he's massively talented.
What's your theme?
He has done one of the Christmas postcards before. In the past, I had thought that I didn't want the same artist to do more than one of the Christmas postcards, but I broke that rule last year when George Leone did a second one. And so I thought, I can just break it again this year. So the first time Marco did one, he did an image of David from Ghost Assassin in a Santa Claus outfit being kissed on the cheek by Melissa while Scotty is seeing it from the other room. And it's a play on I Saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus.
Yeah, I think I have that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive you do. So this year, this one is Sally from Chronicles of Von Helsing opening up a package that has a brand new teddy bear in it while she's holding Mr. Muffkins. And the box says, to Sally, new parts for Mr. Muffkins, love Santa. Because Sally is a very old vampire who mentally is a child, carries around a teddy bear with her everywhere, so he, of course, is completely falling apart.
Yeah.
But instead of replacing the toy, because, they can't pry it away from her, they occasionally just take parts from new teddy bears and sew it onto Mr. Muffkin.
Frankenstein him.
He's a Frankenstein teddy bear.
Berenstein.
So Mr. Muffkins was needing some new body parts. So Sally is getting a new teddy bear to create Frankenstein parts from Mr. Muffkins.
Is it in a cartoony style?
No, it's in the Marco style. So this is a very realistic looking Sally. She very much looks like a real little girl. It's quite different than any version of Sally I've ever seen. The other artists to draw Sally to date have been Tony Morgan, of course. He drew Sally for the cover of Chronicles Von Helsing #4. In that version of Sally, he used reference from his friend's little girl. And so she does very much look like a little girl on that, but it's in Tony's very, very beautifully savage style. And
Beautifully savage.
so, in addition to Tony, Stefano Cardicelli drew Sally in 2 different issues. Issue number 4 and issue number 5, Sally makes appearances in. Stefano's style is very gruesome. She appears in that style in those. And then Joel Kotajar, who's the artist on Ghost Assassin, he did a 7-page Sally short story. So seeing her Marco's style is a lot more photorealistic than everyone else's. And so she looks completely different than I've ever seen her look before.
That'll be interesting to see.
It is. It's very interesting. He's got pencil stage done so far. So now he's just doing all the fine inking. And then after the inking, he'll go back through and do the coloring.
When do you expect to have that out?
He thinks that he can have it all done by Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday.
Yeah, and if so, I would imagine my printer will have it all printed up within about a week. And they could probably get it done faster for me if I need it to be rushed. I'll have it very early in December, in any case.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing that.
Oh, you'll get one.
What else you got going on for the holiday season?
So, I got an Bovine Muerte pinup that I have an artist starting on. It's not the main artist from Bovine Muerte. It's not Gabriel doing this one. It's another gentleman, Patrick, who I have worked with on a pinup that hasn't been released yet because it ties in with Ghost Assassin Noir.
Oh, yes, this whole thing.
Yeah, and so he is doing a pinup for me that's going to be Bovine Muerte Yule image. So remember how last time we spoke, I had said that I was interested in doing Bovine Muerte pinups for pretty much every holiday. Well, I have 3 of them already for Christmas. And I'd love to do another Christmas one, but it wasn't appealing to me in the same way that doing one for Yule was. So he's going to be doing one for Yule.
When is that going to... When are these coming out?
Oh, the postcard, I will most likely drop the image when it comes out. Because it's not... It doesn't need to be a big reveal like the comics do or anything like that. It's just, hey, this is a holiday card we did this year. You know, I'll probably put it on Instagram as soon as Marco's done. The postcards themselves, printed like we discussed, would be early in December. The pinup for Yule, though, Yule is the 21st, which is a Thursday. And the day before, the 20th, is a Wednesday. Wednesday is the day I normally update Bovine Muerte. So most likely, it'll be posted on the 20th.
I don't even really know what Yule is.
Fair enough.
Like a Yule log?
Yes, a Yule log is part of it.
That's about all I know. And Netflix will put on like a little crackling fire for you to watch.
Yule is one of the roots of Christmas. You know, Yule, Saturnalia, all that. I think I'm saying that correctly. Yule was a Viking holiday. So
I like the Vikings.
Yeah, it was a Viking holiday, and they did a animal sacrifice during Yule and put them up at like the top of some sort of pool or tree or something. And so, you know, the red ball ornaments that you put on your Christmas tree? Those originally symbolized the puddles of blood that came off the animal.
Is this kind of telling us what we can look forward to?
No, no. I had thought for about 10 seconds of doing that, but I was like, I can't sacrifice Muerte. Doing that even in a pinup, I wouldn't be able to come back from, so...
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
So, no, it's going to be rather tasteful. It's still going to be a cheery type thing, but you'll get to see the cast of EBM dressed up as Vikings. That was reason enough for me to do Yule right there. As I really wanted to do Winter Nights, but Winter Nights happens in October. But the whole reason I wanted to do Winter Nights was so that I could see Lei Mime dressed up like Odin, right? Well, turns out I don't need to do Winter Nights to see that. I can do Yule. So
whatever works, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the other things I accomplished over this weekend was I have a new feature coming to my YouTube channel pretty soon. It's going to be Bovine Muerte themed. I'm going to be doing commentary with Catherine Myers, who is the editor on issues number 1 through 3 in the half issue, on those issues. So I'm going to show them panel by panel, page by page, and give commentary about what's happening in each page, what decision I made, things that people always miss in them. Basically like director's commentary.
That's an interesting idea. Director's commentary on a comic
I've
book.
seen other people do it on YouTube. I'm not going to be the first to do it. I'm not even going to try to claim to be.
No, but it lets you know like the subtle things that people might not notice.
Yes. And there are a lot of things people miss. Like a lot of people miss that Muerte is a chimera, for instance. And so that's something I can go over because on page number 2, when you see her, you see all the vats in the background that are the different species being used to make her. Because, they're DNA vats, basically, or whatever you want to call it. Because, it's a sci-fi thing that you don't need any real science for. But it's all the mammals that are basically, their DNA is going into Muerte to make her be able to produce the type of cheese she does, right? So there's a human behind in the vats. There's a goat behind in the vats. There's all these things. Because she just looks like a cow, everyone always glazes over that. Never pays attention to the fact that Muerte is actually a chimera.
Such a weird little story.
Why do you say that?
That's bonkers, and you wouldn't expect it. Because she's a whole bunch of different things to try to make a cheese.
And why wouldn't you expect it?
Why would you expect it? No one expects that.
What's the most unexpected part of El Bovine Muerte for you?
I don't know. The cheese is probably the most unexpected. Other than that, it's just kind of a funny comment.
The cheese is so delicious that it wipes your mind, you mean? Or
I like that she's a bunch of different things to make the cheese.
Oh, okay. So the fact that she's chimeran, is that something you just learned?
Yeah, okay. I never noticed that. Yeah, I could stare at all your shit and I don't know. It's just there.
Yeah, it's just in the background. It's never actually... none of the characters actually vocally
really
state it, Yeah.
You just kind of got to pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's all about whether or not you question what's in the vats behind her or not.
I guess if you don't really have much of a reason to question it, you're not going to.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm going to state this is what it is in the commentary, and obviously I'm stating it right here on the podcast, so it's not some big secret. And I don't know if I will ever actually make mention of it in the comic itself through dialogue. Like, it might just
I like the subtleness of it.
Yeah.
That unless you really think about it or you hear it said out loud, it just goes by the wayside.
Exactly. So yeah, I might just stick with that.
I like it. Where did you get the idea for it?
For El Bovine Muerte?
Yeah.
From watching Nacho Libre, I think we talked about this before.
Well, I like the whole. Where'd your idea come from for making a chimera cow?
Well,
or chimeran. How would you say that? I don't know.
Chimera, I believe. Just chimera.
Oh, okay.
So the original thought behind it was if Les Mimes' whole life is dedicated to creating a perfect cheese. Some people prefer cheese that comes from cows. Some people prefer cheese that comes from goats, right? So originally I thought the chimera would just be a goat and a cow. And originally Muerte was written in a way that she looked like a cow, but she had goat horns. But eventually she was changed to just look more like a cow. Mm. And if you notice the way her color scheme is, she's supposed to look like a Jersey cow on one side and a standard dairy cow on the other side. So she's half and half colored.
I don't pay that much attention to cows, so I couldn't tell you what kind of cow she's supposed to be.
That's fair. But basically, when I started thinking about her being crossbred with a goat, it made me think that there might be other mammals that produce milk that the cheese would be very appealing to humans, right? So, of course, one of the first things that came to mind is that she needed human DNA.
Of course.
Because human breast milk is the first type of milk you're ever introduced to.
Yeah.
And while I don't think that we standardly as a species ever, eat cheese that's made from our own milk.
That sounds kind of disgusting.
It does, right?
I would not eat that cheese, I don't think.
I don't think I would either. But the point is if he's going for the perfect cheese, and the first milk you ever have is from your mother, most generally.
It's a secret ingredient.
Right, then it makes sense that part of her DNA sequencing is human as well, right? So after that, if I remember right, because, it has been 7 years since I wrote the script for the first issue. So if I remember right, after that, I had written in the script to just toss in a random mammal into the third or fourth tank. So without looking back, I don't even remember what the other mammals even are. But I just thought, there need to be a few other mammals just to kind of create the perfect cheese. But the three that were important were a cow, a goat, and a human.
The perfect cheese.
The perfect cheese.
I'm not eating that.
So perfect that it leaves your mind completely blank.
Makes sense if it's so perfect.
Right, because it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that's what the cheese needed to do. I knew it was a side effect Lay Mime didn't even know was going to happen. And so, he had no idea what it was going to be. That's why he wasn't the taste tester for it.
He just seems like he wouldn't trust it enough, anything that he ever made, to try it on himself.
Yeah. So one of his random troopers had to test it. But to date, I've actually shown very little of the cheese wiping the mind away. That will be something that when I get to around the 5th, 6th, 7th issues, will be shown a whole lot more.
I wonder how many people have kind of thought about this that have read it.
Probably very few.
Probably. It's a little bit obscure.
Right. When I was having a conversation with Paul Johnson at Emerald City Comic Con a few years back when he came down for it, we were having a discussion about how you pitch your projects, how you talk to people about them, And all in all, I'm not that great at telling people what my comics are about, just in general.
I've noticed.
Okay, thanks. And but when I'm talking to him, he told me that it was impossible for him to try to describe what El Bovine Muerte is about when people asked him what the webcomic was about that he worked on. And he's like, you know what, just read it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all that you can say about it.
Yeah.
Is just read it.
Yeah, the funny thing is when I first came up with the idea, there were certain elements that were always there and then certain elements that kind of introduced themselves in different ways over the years. So, like the boy band was always a part of it, right? The cheese was always a part of it. Lay Mime was the character I needed in order to start creating the story, but all the ideas were kind of there. Lay Mime's just what made everything pop once I finally invented him. But when I was first creating it, I'd had a conversation with my brother, and he asked me what my new comics were going to be about, that I was releasing around that time. And I told him I was working on this webcomic that was about this industrialist mime who had invented a cow that made cheese so perfect that it left your mind completely blank, and that the cheese was going to be distributed to mankind through fast food chains as cheese singles. But then the Swedish government would break in and steal the cow. So at that time, I didn't realize it was going to be the Swedish government that was actually making the cheese singles go out. I thought it was going to be Lay Mime back then, but that changed when I was writing the first issue. And that there was going to be this boy band whose music was played continuously throughout all of these fast food chains. That at that point, after the people had eaten the cheese, that's what programmed their minds to do what the government wanted them to do. And that was basically my idea for how this whole thing was going to go, right? And after I got on saying all of it, he took a second. We were talking through Messenger, and he's like, wow, it sounds like there's a ton of really good political commentary in there. A lot of really good political commentary. And I'm like, sitting there thinking, and I'm almost insulted. I'm like, the fuck you mean there's political commentary in that?
I just did it sound that funny.
Right? I just came up with something funny. Just like, this is funny. This is just for fun. What do you mean political commentary? It did not occur to me in the least bit. Then when I'm talking about boy bands having subliminal messages in their music tracks, fast food chains wiping your mind, like all this different stuff, that I was writing something that's in essence political.
It kind of seems like it scrapes the surface of a little conspiratory,
yes,
in a sense, rather
definitely
than political. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. I wouldn't have thought about it like that, though.
I didn't think about it like that, even after I described it all. I would say conspiracy is probably a little bit closer.
But that works for the theme of it.
Right. Yeah, it works very well, especially with the newest release being like a pro-smoking commercial and all this, Ties it into Del Gribble a little bit more, right?
love that show.
I never intended for any politics to be in there, but I guess sometimes the best stuff is when you don't intend for something to be taken a certain way, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't really try to make my things political. It's just too messy.
I don't try to make my things political, but
fuck it.
If my characters have politics and they have a reason to be political, that's fine. But their political viewpoints aren't going to be the same as what mine are. Personally, I think that's where Marvel's run into a lot of problems recently. Is any writer that's working on a character, that character automatically has the same political viewpoints they have, right? Well, my characters, I could see some of them being liberals, some of them being conservative, some of them being in the middle, some of them having absolutely no care whatsoever for politics or anything in the world beyond themselves. You know?
Them running like that, it's just trying to be politically correct for their brand. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, politically correct, and it's their attempt to be politically outspoken in a way past shouting on their Twitter pages,
Yeah, it makes you look like you're doing something without pissing off a bunch of people.
Right. At the same time, what you do is piss off a bunch of people because you forced a narrative. Personally, I would rather go onto a writer's Twitter and see them post about politics 24/7 than pick up a comic and have a character like Spider-Man ranting and raving about politics when he's never, number one, been known to do that in the past, and number two, don't seem like they'd be politics that character would have.
Yeah, these things are more of an escape.
Yeah.
You're not trying to read your comics to be political.
Well, yeah. And, it's not like you're writing Manchurian Candidate here. You're writing Spider-Man. You want to do a story that's political, that's fine. But just all I'm saying is, if I do politics in my books, they're going to be politics that make sense for the characters.
There's a point to it.
There's a point to it, yeah. And, you should know how your characters view that kind of stuff, Like the Pauper, he is definitely 100% a conservative character. David does not give a shit about politics. Like, not even a little bit. Lay Mime, I have no
political.
Clue. I have no clue. He might be super political. I have no idea which way he would go, though. So, I couldn't write a political story featuring Lay Mime because they would be whatever served him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be his politics, basically, I guess. Yeah, as I draw closer to the Ghost Assassin Kickstarter, I have 2 questions I want to run past you.
Okay.
As a potential supporter, backer,
2
hopefully.
answers.
Okay. The first question is, when you are backing a Kickstarter project, do you prefer to have free shipping, so shipping included in the price, not really free shipping, it's basically just the shipping included in the price, or do you prefer to have the price of the item and then know what the extra amount is that you're paying for shipping?
I think I'd prefer the shipping to be included. Like, hey, I'm giving you $20 for this thing if you make it. And
okay.
Shipping's included.
Okay.
It might make your price point be a little bit higher.
It would make your price point higher.
But you could easily state
there is also something to be said, though, about the fact that when people click on it, they're not surprised then at the extra charge they have to pay,
Yeah, because, so many people, if you order something online, everybody orders stuff through Amazon. You always see, spend this much in free shipping, or hey, I got Amazon Prime, free 2-day shipping.
Yeah, and with my eBay store, I do free shipping on almost everything because eBay's pushed that so hard. And they pushed it because they want to make sure to stay competitive in their marketplace against Amazon. That's why they started pushing that so hard. But I don't do free shipping on everything. Like comics, I just do a flat shipping rate of $3 no matter how many comics you buy, unless they go over a certain price. Like if a comic is $75, I'm not going to charge $3 for shipping. I'm just going to make the shipping included in that.
Well, duh. I hate people that do that. I'm buying a damn comic or anything from you for this much money.
Right.
And it's a small little thing. Fuck you. I'm not going to buy it from you for $3 shipping.
Yeah. But
that's just me.
If I'm doing like a bunch of single comics that are like $1.49, I'm not going to make them $4.49. I'm going to make them $1.49, do $3 flat rate shipping once, and hope that somebody buys like 20 of them at a time, right? On Kickstarter, obviously, they're not going to stack the tiers in the same way because your tiers are already stacked. So it's not like somebody's going to be looking at all these different items you have and be like, hey, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy that. And, I went over to your web store and I bought that as well. So can I have this all shipped together? It won't work the same way that eBay does. But forever, not forever, but for the first few years it existed, Kickstarter always did. Your shipping is included, and then you tell international backers how much to include to get it shipped to their location, right? And now they've instituted that you can do shipping on the items. And since they did that, I would say the vast majority of them that I backed, shipping is not included. The shipping fee comes up after you choose your pledge level.
Well, I mean, if there's kind of a set trend for it already, I'd follow that.
Yeah, it seems like I've seen a few people asking about this on Facebook, and I've asked about it on Twitter. I didn't get any responses off that one, though. And all the comments that I've read, it seems pretty 50-50. There are some people that like the shipping to be included because they like to look like they're getting something for free when in reality they know they're not. And there are some people who like to have it be a separate charge so they know how much the comic is and how much shipping is. So it's more like itemized that way, right?
I guess most things that I've seen on Kickstarter, shipping's not included. But that's probably a better way to do it, actually, on that.
Yeah.
I'd follow the trend.
Okay. The second question is, so for Ghost Assassin issue number 1, it's going to be a 32-page full-color comic, right?
Right.
How much would you expect to spend on that if you were just buying that issue and the only other thing that came with it is a digital comic, and if I get 100 backers, a free trading card as well?
So how much would I pay for that 32-page book?
Yeah.
Okay. Being someone that owns some comics and read some comics, I could not tell you how big a normal issue of a comic is.
32 pages.
That's how much they normally are.
Yeah.
Okay. You would think that I would know that.
Yeah, there's no real reason you would know that, honestly.
I prefer the trades anyways.
Yeah.
I feel like people pay a higher price for different names, but, somewhere around $4 to $6, I would think. Is that how much people pay for these things? Like, or if it's an older thing, like
the trend seems to be right now $5 for the issue itself and $5 for shipping, right?
Well,
so if you just back at the level that's like 32-page full-color comic, in general, lately, I've noticed, you're spending $10 if you just get that.
Could you feasibly do it for your flat rate of $3?
Yes, I could. I easily could. Because I buy my packaging materials in big enough bulk, and for a comic well packaged, sent out, shipping materials included. Now, shipping will go up in sometime between January and March. The post office has raised it every single year for the past decade or so. So it will go up at some point then. But as of what the shipping rates have been for the past 4 years, I haven't had to raise my price from $3 in that entirety of that time. So after packaging materials, everything, what it'll probably cost me is about $2.98 to ship something.
I think if $10 is okay, if you can get it at like $9, I think you got a better chance because it's like the whole $9.99
with the
thing.
printers that I use and the shipping methods that I use, what mine will most likely cost shipped is $7, because I can print them in a large enough quantity that I can get the printing cost down. So even though it's a color comic, I don't want to go over that $4 price mark on the cover. That's where I like to stay. I know that there are a lot of indie comics that go up to $5, and I'll pay $5 for something if I'm at like a show, something like that. Generally, though, I don't want to pay $10 for a single issue.
No, that's why I'm saying if you get it under $10, like if you can get it at $8 with shipping included, okay, $9 is still kind of okay. Once it's a double digit, you might lose some people at that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if part of the reason for it though too is kind of almost a Kickstarter premium. Like you need this money to actually produce this comic. So like that extra dollar or whatever, goes into production costs. Yeah. One of my concerns is though, is if someone like looks at it And I want to be transparent. I want to put what the cover price is right on the comic when I print up the mock-ups. And so the comic is going to have $3.99 cover price on there. And so one of the things that concerns me is if I overpriced it, then people are just going to think, oh well, if I see them at a convention, I could get this for $4, no shipping. Wait till it's on the web store, and then pay $4 plus $3 shipping. So I'm not going to try to sell mine for 10. I'm going to sell it for what I know I can sell it for and what I consider to be a good value to the customers.
I think if you're selling it for $4, I don't want to pay more in shipping than it costs to buy something, really. Unless it's like a tiny little thing.
Right.
In which case I'm taking that hit because I really want this little thing.
Right.
So if it's the same price, like if you do it for $8, I think you could be all right.
Okay.
And you can do it for $7 and still be okay. Then $7 is better. But that's
basically I'm asking you this not because I have any interest whatsoever in knocking on whatever anybody charges. I mean, if you got to charge $15 for your comic, that's what you got to charge, right?
Everybody's got their own prices.
Right. I'm basically just trying to figure out what the pain points are. And like you as a consumer, what is so little that you wouldn't view it as worthy of backing on Kickstarter? And what's so much that you definitely would not back it at because that's just too much for you to spend on a single issue? Like trade paperbacks and hardcovers are obviously a lot different.
Yeah, I like the $7 price point. That's good. It doesn't make you feel like you're spending too much.
Right.
If you gotta go more than that, you might lose some people. But like I said, I don't want to pay more than a cover price.
Okay.
In shipping.
Right.
If you got to pay $4 for a book that you want, you got to pay $4. But I've never bought a brand new issue of anything. So
oh, you haven't?
I don't know. No.
Oh, okay.
It's all been older stuff.
All right, that makes sense.
You get it for a deal. So I don't really have that experience of it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes total sense. And I bought a few things on there, and I bought quite a few, but one of the comics I bought on Kickstarter came from the United Kingdom, so obviously it was going to cost me quite a bit more in shipping. And that's perfectly fine. And
I think people that want something internationally, they're already realizing they're going to have to pay more.
Yeah, exactly. That's
just a hit you take. You can't be upset that you're going to pay more than cover price for something.
Right.
When you're wanting it to go across an ocean.
Yeah, exactly. But I realize it's less of a pain point for people who are really used to buying independent comics, especially who buy on Kickstarter all the time. And I absolutely want those people, but I absolutely want new customers too, people who have never purchased comics before, things like that.
You want everybody.
Yeah, and so if I'm really trying to give these customers, and I manage to get some of them, and manage to get people who have never backed Kickstarter before, I want it to be the best experience possible, of course. And so basically, you didn't even know how many pages a standard comic was.
No, did not.
So it brings up the whole question, of if somebody backs your Kickstarter and it's the very first time they're ever backing a comic, when they get it, do they have a certain value they're ascribing in their heads to what the size of it will be once it shows up,
They might. I mean, I'm someone that has single issue comics, and yet I didn't know how big that actual book is.
Right.
So they might have a different idea in their head as to what it is.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And thinking about it now, not including the shipping and the price, smart idea for something like a comic. Because if I click onto your page and I see, oh, you want $4 to back this?
Right.
I'm only paying $4 for a comic. All right. And then I think about it, and then I see below it might say $4 plus $4 for shipping. And like, oh, well, okay, I got to ship it.
Right.
The guy has to ship it. I got to pay shipping on most things.
Yeah.
But if you were to put it at like $8, even if it doesn't have the words, even if it has the words shipping included,
right,
you might be like, well, this guy's already asking for more money. Maybe I won't do this. So I think it's smart, actually, to not include your shipping.
Okay.
It's all about the idea.
Right.
Of, oh, I'm only paying this much for the product itself.
Right. Yeah. I've really been thinking over the past couple of weeks about ascribed value, and what makes me not back a Kickstarter when I land on one, right? Because I check out several Kickstarters every single week, and there are a lot of projects I look at that just look great. Quite frankly, I don't back a lot of them because I don't have the funds to.
That's part of my reason for not backing things. Another big reason of not backing things is that I find all of the best Kickstarters, like the ones that look the coolest, they're already pretty well funded by the time I find them because I'm not on there a whole lot.
Oh, so you kind of feel like they don't need you as much?
No, it's not that. It's they're cheaper tiers that I can afford that I'm still get the stuff and I'm still helping them are sold out because there's only so many of them.
Oh, they do the limited time. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's the early bird. It's that they just only have so many of the lower tiers.
Oh, I understand. And I may be a little bit different when I look at Kickstarters because one of the first things I look at is the rewards.
Oh, yeah.
Before I ever even look at the campaigns, I look at the rewards. And I don't know why I do that.
I look at the pricing of the tiers.
I think first. To date, I've only ever actually watched 4 videos. I almost never watch the videos, which they say is one of your best selling points. But for whatever reason, I just rather read what the person has written in the campaign and the rewards.
That's a good thing to think about, too, what you look at first. Because
I try to.
I first look at how much is the cheapest tier. Like, what's the biggest thing? Because some of the things that I look at, most of the things that I look at are, I'd say, like 60% board games.
Right.
And, you got to expect to pay a little bit more for a board game.
Right.
So some of the things that I've seen starting out, they want $90 for the first tier.
Yeah.
But that game, if it makes it, is going to retail for like $120.
Yeah. So you might end up getting a really good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I obviously look in the comic category more than anything else. Obviously. But one of the things that I've noticed over the past year that I didn't notice a whole lot before then is a lot of people charging like $6 for a PDF of their comic, right? And when I see that as kind of the first reward, generally I'll skip over that campaign. Because if I see like a $6 PDF, it makes me think the actual physically printed book must be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, why do I want to pay that much for something that's just a little digital picture? If I'm going to pay $6, I can get a 32-page book.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you could. You could go to a comic convention and get a couple of trade paperbacks for that, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, which, is not the point of what Kickstarter is, because you're supposed to be helping somebody create something.
That's just us griping about things.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but it's basically just me saying, the ascribed value is very, very important to me, because as someone who's been on several Kickstarters and found reasons not to back certain Kickstarters, that is one of the turnoffs to me, is when the very first reward is a PDF, and instead of being like $2 to $3, it's like $6 to $9,
So you're judging it based on how much these people think their product is worth.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a fair thing to say.
It's an understandable thing to judge things by.
Yeah. So in December, we're going to be doing something a little bit different on the show. Since it's the end of the year, we're going to dedicate a couple of episodes to doing an end of the year wrap up. Going to talk about the conventions that we did, what we thought of them, what were the best, what were the worst, what went wrong, what went right, which cons did I sell the most Darkslinger product at, which cons did I sell the most non-Darkslinger product at. We're also going to be talking about the goals and expectations I had for 2017, those that were met, those that weren't, those that I hope to accomplish in 2018. Towards the end of December, beginning of January, I'm also going to be doing a show that talks about what the goals are going to be for 2018. And then in the month of December, I plan on having at least one show dedicated to something unrelated to Darkslinger comics, which is going to be comics published by other companies that feature holiday stories. So on that one, I'm hoping to get some special guest stars from the comic industry, comic retailers, people of that nature. to talk about what their favorite holiday memories with comics are, or what comics did they love the most that had the biggest impact on them, their holiday stories.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah, I like the idea.
I haven't read holiday stories though.
You haven't read any?
Not in comic form.
Okay, well, if I can get to a comic shop in December, I plan on going and buying the new Christmas specials.
So when I buy those, I enjoy Christmas.
When I buy those, I'll give them to your grunchy ass after I read them, so you can read them.
You find me that Orange Lantern one though, and I'll read that.
Okay, there's probably a comic shop that has that.
Well then, there you go. You'll get one from me.
Okay. So that's it this week for the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. I'm Adam Watson.
I'm Robert Diaz.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out more about Darkslinger Comics, you can visit us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Google+, YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Facebook we have fan pages for Darkslinger Comics, Bovine Muerte, Ghost Assassin, and Chronicles of Von Helsing.